Hello, welcome back to the Haunted Basement Studio. I'm your host, Triple B, and in this hardcore spoiler movie review, I'm talking Totally Killer, which was totally awesome. And this is now streaming on Amazon Prime for free. So, all you 80s nostalgia fans out there, you need to go check this one out. All right, Totally Killer stars Kiernan Shipka as a time traveling final girl who goes back in time to the 80s to save her mother from the Sweet 16 serial killer. That sounds absolutely awesome, right? And it totally is. But like most movies that deal with time travel, it also can get very confusing at times. So I am here to help. Here is my story recap of Totally Killer with a plot summary and a Totally Killer ending explained. Included with the killer in this Totally Killer movie. Spoilers ahead, y'all. Obviously, so let's go. So Jamie is a teenage girl who is so over her overprotected mother, Pam, who all of Pam's friends were murdered by the Sweet 16 serial killer who was never caught, but that was 35 years ago. There is no way that this killer will come back at this time, right? Wrong. Obviously, he does, because now it is Halloween night on 2023. The Sweet 16 killer returns, donning his signature creepy mask and a knife. While Jamie is off with her father at a concert, the killer breaks into Jamie's mother's house. But Jamie's mother is a badass Pam. She has been training her whole life, worrying if this killer was going to come back to get her. She has guns hidden all over the house. And as they battle from room to room, the killer gets the upper hand on Pam and stabs her 16 times, just like he did the other three victims in 1987. Jamie is devastated by her mother's murder, and it doesn't help that the lead police detective reveals that Pam had been secretly texting the host of the town's local true crime podcast named Chris, a man whom Jamie's father famously detests. Jamie confronts Chris and asks him if he was having an affair with her mother. Chris swears up and down that he wasn't. He has been talking to Pam because he was the only one that was trying to solve the serial killer cold case. Pam then shares something with Chris that she has never told anyone else. After her three friends were murdered in 1987, she received a note that said, "You're next one day." And that's why Pam has spent her whole life training and fighting and also being paranoid that maybe one day this serial killer is going to come back for her. And he did. Luckily, Jamie's BFF, Emily, she is a genius, and she has invented literally a time machine for her science project for school. But Emily hasn't worked out all the kinks yet. But once she does, she believes that she can travel back in time using the time machine to go back to 1987 to when the killings first started and to stop the murderers from happening altogether. Unfortunately, there is no time for troubleshooting because the killer shows up at the time machine and starts to attack. And when he does, Jamie is in the seat of the time machine and the killer goes to stab her, but she moves and it stabs the monitor of the time machine. And with that metal conductor, the time machine starts to work and it starts to fucking flash. And then she ends up going back to the year 1987. She steps out of the photo booth because the time machine was built out of the photo booth. You know, the ones where you put some money in and you sit with your significant other and you take some pictures. So When she goes back, she's back at the carnival, she's back at the amusement park, and it is 1987 and it is popping. There's people everywhere, there's kids, there's crowds, there's couples. It is totally awesome. When she doesn't even realize where she is at, she runs down to this lady with children and she's smoking a cigarette. She's like, "What year is it?" She's like, "It's 1987. It's crazy. It's almost over. I haven't even tried Coke yet." And she looks down at her kids. She's like, "Oh, don't even worry. They don't know what you're talking about," as she blows some smoke. It's so funny the difference between the 80s and now. Jamie now recruits her BFF's mom to help her because she was the original designer of the time machine. She quickly learns that her mother was actually a popular mean girl in the 80s. Young Pam, who now is played by Olivia Holt, and her friends think that Jamie is a total loser from Canada. So now, after getting kicked out of the party 3 times, Jamie busts back in and she meets up with Pam and she's telling her, "We need to watch Jessica tonight. We need to be good friends and protect her." And they're like, "Hey," and they point to the bully. He's like, "Again?" But when he goes and grabs her, she grabs his arm and slams his head on the counter. And he's like, "Oh my God." And they're like, "Oh, how did you do that?" And she looks at Pam and says, "My mom taught me self defense." And now Jamie is looking for Jessica and she's running up the stairs. She pulls out her smartphone and there's a girl upstairs smoking a doobie watching her. And she pulls out the smartphone to the podcast from Chris and it says that Jessica's body was found in the garage. The girl says, "Hey, are you from the future?" Jamie looks up at her and says, "Yes, I am." And then she runs down to the garage and nothing is happening. And then she's running all around the house. And then she goes back upstairs to Jessica's parents' bedroom where the Sweet 16 killer stabbed Jessica 16 times. And she's laying on the water bed with blood and water squirting everywhere. And so now Jamie is unable to prevent the first murder from happening to one of Pam's equally popular mean girls at a party one night. Jamie tries to get into a party a few times, but she keeps getting thrown out. Meanwhile, the killer shows up and stabs one of Pam's friends 16 times. Jamie can't believe how mean her mom Pam and her friends are. When you're going from 2023 to 1987, the times are totally different, and which is so funny the way that they're talking to each other. And it's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. No one would ever say that in 2023." And that's what makes this movie so awesome, is when they go back to 1987, the times are so different, and this compared to the times now, that's just what makes this movie a fun, wild ride. And now, with that murder, helps convince Pam that Jamie is a psychic and that she believes that the rest of her and her friends are in danger. But she is still a dumb teenager, all horny, and she doesn't even take it that seriously, which leads to another of her popular mean girls getting killed. And now Pam is saying Tiffany wasn't even a great person, but she was still my friend, you know. And how did you even know she was in danger? Jamie says, "I'm a psychic, and I had visions that Tiffany was going to get murdered tonight, and I tried to stop it, but I didn't, obviously. Maybe with your help, we can stop the rest." Pam says, "There's going to be more?" "Yes, Marissa and Heather, and you. You're all in danger." Pam asks her, "How far in the future can you see?" She says, "Until the year 2023. Now, Jamie, Pam, and teen Lauren are sitting around watching an 80s movie when Jamie tells Pam, "I foresee that Marissa is going to be the next victim, and it is going to happen the day after tomorrow in a cabin in the woods." Pam, Do you think of anyone who doesn't like the Mollies? Maybe someone whose life you ruined or gave some sort of psychological scar that would make them want to like hunt you down and kill you like in a ritual way? Oh no. I there's no one. I mean, maybe we used to make fun of this one kid with an eye patch. Oh, and Wendy and Tyler and Amy Wolf, who is creepier than Fat Trish, Lisa, Jeannie Hudson, and Jeannie Parstein, and Randy. He's a big dumb meathead. Randy loved Tiffany. He asked her to the spring fling last year. Well, he also asked Marissa and Heather and me. So I guess I understand why he would be mad at us. And then Jamie says, he can't be mad at you for rejecting him. That is fucked up. Pam says, do you think that I should date him just in case he is the killer and that makes him decide not to kill me? No, you can't do that. Don't date Randy. That's not who you're supposed to be with. Pam says, then who am I supposed to be with? Blake. Jamie just realizes that she fucked up. Pam says, oh really, Blake? Oh my god, I knew I always been secretly obsessed with Blake. Oh, I can never do that to Tiffany. Jamie says, oh okay, good, because you and Blake don't get together for a while. And that's like 4 years from now. And Pam says, well, if it's meant to be and it's timing, it doesn't matter. And Tiffany, well, I'm going to have sex with Blake. Jamie says, no, you're not. You're too young. You have to wait until the end of college. And so now we go back to the future where Emily, Lauren's daughter, is trying to fix the time machine 2.0, where Chris, the podcaster, shows up and says there's something crazy happening because I remember Tiffany being found in the garage, but these photos are showing her dead on a waterbed. And now in the picture, Emily sees a note that says, stab the machine. And this is from Jamie in the past. Jamie says people remember things that didn't happen, like people thinking Nelson Mandela died in jail. But there's a theory that those memories are false. They're just lingering from the past or some altered via time travel. And now Chris is showing Emily pictures from the party from 1987. And she's like, oh shit, there she is. Jamie is back in 1987. And that note was a message to me. Stab the machine. The killer's knife must gotten stuck in the conductor somehow. And Jamie is telling me that I need an extra metal conductor. She says, Chris, Jamie is trying to solve the murders, but he says, but they're still dead. Well, yeah, Tiffany, but Heather and Marissa haven't happened yet. You see, time happens all at once, just like a river. Now, as they make it to the cabin in the woods, Jamie is telling them the rules. Do not go outside. Blake yells, I'm gonna get naked in the hot tub. Who's coming with me? And as the group is in the hot tub, Jamie and teen Kara, they are talking. And then Jamie realizes that the brownies that she has been eating has weed in them. And she's like, oh my God, now everybody is high. She's like, wait, why don't I feel anything? Kara says, man, you must have a high tolerance. Do you want to smoke a doobie? And she hands her a bag of weed of what's left over. And Jamie takes a look at it and says, man, this is dirt. 80s weed sucks. Now, only way that Jamie can get the group inside is to tell them that she's got pizza. And then they go inside, but they lock Jamie outside because she must have hidden the pizza because there's no pizza there. So they're looking for the pizza in the house. Meanwhile, Pam and Blake can't keep their hands off of each other. Jamie is outside and she's looking through the windows and she sees somebody in the cabin with the group. Pam now realizes that there is a killer on the loose, and then they hear a noise from outside their room, and then they barricade the door. And now Heather is passed out in her room, and Jamie is outside her window banging on it, telling her to wake up. The closet door opens up, and the Sweet 16 killer walks in. He turns up the radio loud, and then Jamie makes it over to the window of Pam and Blake's room, where they finally let her in, and she says, "He's gonna kill Heather. I thought you said Marissa was gonna get killed next. We need to go help her." Heather now wakes up as the killer is about to stab her, and she blocks his knife and then runs out the door. But he catches up with her and throws her down a flight of stairs. And as she lands on her back and she rolls down the stairs, her leg is broken. Heather is crawling away, but that broken leg, she can't get too far. The killer slowly walks down the stairs, and as she's crawling away into the kitchen, the killer stalks her, and then he stabs her right in her back, and then continuously stabs her 16 times. Blake runs in now and he tries to save the day, but he gets stabbed right in the chest. The killer goes to leave the cabin. As he opens up the door, Jamie's there and she slams his head with a piece of firewood. As they fight back and forth, the killer is choking Jamie, and right before he stabs her, Mom Pam slams a vase over his head. But the killer kicks Pam right in her gut and then slams her head against the table. And right before he gets a chance to kill Pam, Blake saves the day as he grabs a fire rod and starts swinging it at the killer. And the killer runs away. And now all of them are badly injured but alive, except for Heather, which is dead. So they all make it to the police station, where Jamie hands over the blood from the killer and says this is the DNA. But since in 1987, they have no idea what that is, and they just throw it away. And as the kids have no clue who have done this, they must go back to school. Jamie is now talking with Teen Lauren, and she says maybe there are two killers. Like in Scream, the one with Drew Barrymore in it. Oh no, wait, that hasn't even happened yet. So now Lauren is showing her prototype of her new time machine, but Jamie's smartphone picks up a Wi Fi signal from it. And this is exactly what she needs to get her back to the future. But then they realized that the strong signal came from the TV satellite. Lauren says good news because given your battery rate of paracyclic drain, you have approximately 7.5 hours until you are stuck here forever. Jamie says, holy fuck, because that's about the same time that Heather was killed. Lauren says, well, where at? The Halloween carnival. Lauren says, well, that is good because they always broadcast there. And that's how we'll get you home because we will hijack the life battery at the boardwalk. Okay? Lauren has figured out a way to fix the photo booth, the time machine. But they need a lot of power for it to work. Something like to disrupt gravity. Jamie says, what about the quantum drop? She said, yes. And it is very easy to get into the ride. All they got to do is tell the operator that there is something wrong. And he's like, no worries. Now it is time for me to take a break. Man, the 80s are wild. You can get away with anything here, Jamie says. And now she is telling the group, so I told Pam that I am a psychic. And I thought Heather was going to be killed tonight at the Halloween carnival in the parking lot. But since she's already dead, he's probably going to go after Marissa. My visions could be wrong. Anything could happen. I mean, no one is safe. So if anybody wants to leave, do it now. Pam now says, I want to catch him, even if he does kill Marissa and the rest of us live. Oh, Jesus, I don't want to go my whole life knowing that that psycho killed my friends and he is still out there either. So they use Marissa as bait to go into the dollhouse of horrors to act like she is going to go blow someone. As it is Halloween night at the carnival, Kara shows up and is wondering why she hasn't seen them since the cabin. And she is wondering why all the killings have started once Jamie got to their town. Pam and Jamie just walk away from Kara as she is dressed as the Grim Reaper with a real stiff. As Marissa makes her way into the dollhouse of horrors, she is walking around trying to see if the killer will show up. And then you have Jamie holding a bat, waiting. This is a trap. The killer does show up, creeping towards Marissa, where he attacks her, but Blake hits him from behind with a bat, but it does not affect the killer. As Blake gets thrown to the side, the killer now is chasing Jamie throughout the house of horrors. The killer attacks Jamie in one of the rooms, but the group is all there and they finally overtake him by Kara using her knife to slice and dice the killer and says, I told you I wasn't the killer. And as they pull off the mask of the killer, it is Doug, the hall pass monitor. They all wonder why Doug would want to kill them. And he has a necklace around his neck. And in that necklace is the picture of Fat Trish. And Trish was his girlfriend. Jamie says, why would he want to kill you? Marissa says, well, there was this party that Tiffany asked Trish to come to. And when she got over there, we got her really drunk and made fun of her. And then she locked herself in the room. She must have called Doug. And then she left and drove. Then Jamie says, wait, you let her drive drunk? Yes, but she just left. Lauren runs in and says, oh my God, it was Doug. Jamie, we gotta go. Your time's almost up. Jamie now looks at her mom, Pam, and says, you killed someone? And she says, no, I didn't. I wasn't there that night. Pam says, I would never do something like that. You think I am some kind of monster? And then Jamie says, then why would Doug promise to kill you one day? And she pulls out the note and it says, you're next one day. But Pam doesn't even recognize the note. And then all of a sudden, a second killer shows up and slices Marissa's throat. But it's the killer from the future because Jamie fucked up his mask and she recognizes it. And the killer takes off and they wonder, how did he get here from the future? And now we go back in the future and Lauren's mom sees her teen daughter knocked on the ground. And her time machine is missing. So it must have been Chris, the podcaster, that went back in time. As Jamie and Lauren get into the time machine, the killer from the future shows up. The time machine is starting to spin. As Jamie takes off her jacket, she gives it to Lauren and says, give this to Kim. And then Lauren jumps out of the time machine and it's starting to spin. But Kim enters the time machine. Now Jamie and Kim and the killer are in the time machine as it picks up speed to take them back to the future. As they battle in this spinning time machine, both of them are fighting the killer. But Kim must get out of the time machine before she is also transferred to the future. The killer is slowly approaching Kim. As he reaches his knife out to stab her, Jamie opens the door and Kim flies out of the machine. And now it is just the killer and Jamie in the time machine. Now Jamie sees that the killer is Chris, the podcaster who needed some new material and decided to kill Jamie's mom and clone the Sweet 16 killer and make it look like he reappeared after all these years. Chris says the Sweet 16 killer is back and he can be anyone and he cannot be killed. He's Michael fucking Myers and I am the expert. And I had no idea that Doug was the original Sweet 16 killer. But now the Sweet 16 killer will become more famous because, and Jamie says, no, no one knows about you because you are going to die in my time machine. As he reaches out to kill her, she pulls out a nail gun and shoots him 6 times. And then he flies back against the spinning wall of the time machine and turns into paint dust. And now Jamie makes it back to 2023. The carnival is back into ruins as it was before she left. And she goes running home. She's yelling, Mom, Mom. And as she runs to the front door, she's like, Mom, Mom. And you hear Pam say, Honey, I'm here. And they both hug. All right, man. So Jamie's mother is still alive, Kim, and still married to their dad, Blake, which is totally awesome because it means that Jamie is still their daughter. Emily's mom, Lauren, remembers everything that happened in the past, and she begins to tell Jamie the timeline. When a guy starts walking up past them and they both smile at each other, and she's like, Who was that? She's like, Well, now you have an older brother and his name is Jamie. She's like, Wait, what? Both of our names are Jamie? No, your name is Colette. Cut credit scene. All right, man, that was totally awesome, which to me was all right, man, that was totally killer, which was totally awesome to me. Absolutely thought it was fun. Such a blast. Watched it a few times, but you know, I had to cut out the BJ scenes in this review, but that shit was hella funny. There was throughout the whole show with them talking about the BJs. Dude, it's the drinks. You remember the bottles and James wine coolers? That's all it was. You know, they've had too many or gave out too many BJs in one night. You sick fucks, get it out of your head. No, but I had to go ask my wife after I watched this movie. I'm like, hey, you know, you want some bottles and James? No, man. So totally killer. My final ranking on this, dude, I'm gonna give this movie a 9 out of 10. This thing almost made a 10, but man, I absolutely love this movie. It was so funny. It was so awesome, and the horror. But you know what? It's the horror comedy, which like totally worked because it was from the 80s and it was Back to the Future slasher, and they even tell you that in the movie. They mention Back to the Future a few times, so it's not like they're hiding from what they are. And so I mean, and it was from NGM, you know, brought to you, distributed by. So hell yeah, it was produced by Jason Blum, but it wasn't Blumhouse at all. It was NGM. So maybe that's a better route for them instead of them trying to do their own. Let them do their own thing. We'll keep our good horror stuff over here, and maybe we can meet in the middle somewhere. But hell yeah, dude. Totally awesome. It was totally killer awesome. All right, Triple B's out of the Haunted Basement Studio. Make sure you stab that like button with the subscription and that fucking bell so you're notified whenever I drop a hardcore spoiler movie review recap. Haha, later.